Here is the example on how to get the mean. To find the mean, add all the given numbers in the set. 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 5 is equals to 25. Then, dividing by the number of values in the set. To find the value of the set, count the numbers in the set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The number of values is 5. Then 25 is the sum of the number. 25 divided by 5 is equals to 5. Therefore, 5 is the mean. Add then this one of the numbers that will be added in an addition problem. Example, in 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. The 1 and 2 are the addends. I'm Angel Rose Winan, BSIT 1G. Thank you.
T stands for triangle. In geometry, it's a closed two-dimensional shape with three straight sides. A triangle is also a polygon, with a classification based on side, length, and angle measure. Example, obtuse triangle, right triangle. Identify equal side triangle.
H is for hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle, the side that is opposite the 90-degree angle. For example,
now, remember your homework quiz today? You guys had a right triangle, right? Now, when talking about the right triangle, we've always been talking about the legs and the hypotenuse. Legs and hypotenuse. Legs and hypotenuse. And just to remind you, because you do that in special right triangles, the hypotenuse was always directly across from your angle, right? And then your legs are what created the right angle. So that was a leg, that was a leg, and that was the hypotenuse.
Equation. Equation is a math sentence that has at least one equal sign. Mode. Mode number that shows up the most in a list of number.
A stands for average, a number representing a set of other numbers determined by taking the sum of those numbers and dividing by the same number of them. For example,
3, 6, 1, 0, and 2. Add all the numbers that you have by how many numbers that you actually have. Now in this case, 3, 6, 1, 0, and 2 obviously make up 5 numbers. 12 over 5 is not really a reducible number, but if you calculate that on your calculator or do it by hand, you'll find out that it's indeed 2 2/5, or you can write it in decimal form as 2.4.
T stands for theorem, a mathematical statement that has been proven to be true. Here's the example of theorem.
I is for infinity. Infinity is the number that is represented by the sideway 8 symbol. It's bigger than and has a quantity more than any real number. For example,
so how do I have a bag with infinity bags in it? I put all the previous bags in it. Now, that sounds probably a bit silly.
S
C stands for chord. Chord is a line segment or straight line with two endpoints on the circle. First, pick 2 points on a circle and draw a line segment connecting them. This line segment is called a chord. If the chord goes to the center, it has more specific name, and that we call diameter.
for solution. The solution to the problem is the answer that fills in the blank. For example,
Okay, so there's two ways that we can approach it. One way, we could look at each of these choices and try to follow their directions and see if it gets us solving for x here. Another way to approach it, which is the way I will approach it to begin with, is to just start with the equation 2x minus 7 equals 1, and then solve for x, or try to do it in the most efficient way that I can. And this is one of the choices, this is one of the questions where they only want us to pick one choice. So once we pick one choice, we know that the other ones will not be the correct choice. So if I'm trying to solve an algebraic equation like this, the first thing I try to do is isolate the terms that deal with an x on one side. So to do that, I'd want to get rid of this negative 7. So the best way I can think of doing that is to add 7 to both sides. So I'm going to add 7 to the left and add 7 to the right-hand side of the equation. Remember, when we're dealing with an equation, if we want the equation to hold true that the left side is equal to the right side, whatever we do to the left side, we have to do to the right side as well. So if we add 7 on the left, we have to add 7 on the right. Well, when we do that, our left side is left with just the 2x, because you have negative 7 plus 7, is equal to, the right side is 1 plus 7, is equal to 8. Now how do we solve for x here? Well, we can divide both sides by 2, and that will just leave an x on the left-hand side. So when we divide both sides by 2, we are left with x is equal to 8 divided by 2 is 4. So what are the steps? First, we added 7 to both sides. So let me write this down. So first, we added 7 to both sides. And then the second step is we divided both sides by 2. Divided both sides by 2. Now, which of these choices match up to that? So here it says divide both sides of the equation by 2, then subtract 7 from both sides. So this is close, but they're dividing by 2 first, and then instead of adding 7, they're subtracting. And if you divide by 2 first, it's not clear that adding or subtracting 7 is the right thing to do. We could even try it out with that. If you divided both sides by 2 first, if you divide the left-hand side by 2, you would get 2x divided by 2 is x, minus 7 over 2 is equal to 1/2 when you divide the right side by 2. And then you subtract 7 from both sides. That's definitely not going to solve for x. Rule that out. Divide both sides of the equation by 2, then add 7 to both sides. So those are the two steps that we just did, but they're in reverse order, so we can rule that one out as well. Subtract 7 from both sides of the equation, then multiply both sides by 2. No, we added 7 to both sides of the equation, and then we divided both sides by 2. Add 7 to both sides of the equation. Yep, that's what we did first. Then multiply both sides by 2. No, it's going to be then divide both sides by 2. Add 7 to both sides of the equation. Yep, that's what we did first. Then divide both sides by 2. That's exactly what we did, and that will get you solving for x. And they were a little bit tricky here because they put the last choice here, so we had to work through all of them to find the one that actually worked.